Hi there, this is John Drew here from Elevated Planet, bringing to you part 2 of the conversation I had with Chris Stiles of 365 Pin Code. I've broken this down into sections because the entire interview was just over an hour. There will be access to the full interview at the end of this YouTube video. So feel free, if you are suitably intrigued, to go in and have a look at the totality of it. It was a fascinating chat. Here we go. I'm going to give you a brief overview of what we discussed on part 1, and then we'll get into part 2, and then we'll see where we take it from there. Hi there, Elevated Planet community. This is John Drew here from Elevated Planet, and I'm here today with Mr. Chris Stiles of 365 Pin Code. As I was working on the newsletter for the week, this happens to be edition number 22. I know number 22 is a special number. Explain a little bit about what numerology is all about.
What needs to be clarified is that I am actually not a numerologist. What I am actually first and foremost is a research scientist. That has always been my training. My father was a mathematician. As a child, he took me through many extensive exercises around critical thinking, developing the ability to look for deeper meanings within numbers, especially patterns. And I think that is probably my greatest gift, is to be able to work with series of numbers that identify patterns. Numerology, which basically uses only numbers, provided me with a strategic tool which really allowed me to dig very deep into the human design. So much so that Suzanne and I, over the last 2 or 3 years, have been writing extensively about what is called an individual's intelligent mathematical blueprint, which I can now absolutely qualify and quantify. And it is, if I may say so, way, way, way beyond standard numerology. The work that we are doing is actually looking at the human design, especially from the concept of what I call human futurology. Now, this is a brand new scientific discipline. We view ourselves as futurists, strategic futurists, but working in the human dimension, not in the dimension of IT. We are actually a grand organized design. All the great minds have always said that mathematics is the language of the universe. So if we are an expression of the universe, which we absolutely are, then why would we not have a mathematical design? This revolutionary research is only going to take off when people actually begin to open their minds as to the fact that we are so much more than what we can even begin to fathom. And when you actually suddenly realize that your date of birth and your name are not random, that there is without a doubt an incredibly brilliant and genial set of processes that have taken place around you before you were, if you will, placed into this meat suit, this physical life form. You are a mathematical expression of genius, as am I, as is Suzanne, as is Jalay, as is everybody who watches this recording.
It is fascinating. I mean, again, it is difficult for a lot of people to open their minds to this to a large extent, because we get so steeped in our own version of reality, which the westernized version, and I know, and I think one of the big advantages I have when I'm coming into this, like Jolay has been like in the world of the mystic for many, many decades. I, on the other hand, I'm relatively new to this because my mind was blown apart about 4 years ago when I realized that the universe and the world was so much bigger than I'd ever realized. And it's incredible once you start to unpack this stuff. And the numerology thing, yeah, I mean, you talk about the genius of this, really. I mean, I know I have a book back here called The Soul's Gift, which really talks about how your life is pre-planned. You work out in advance how you are going to go through life. Now, this all gets packed into the numbers, right? And it's not that everything in life is scripted. I get that, right? We'd still have free will. We can still go in a number of directions. Yet there is a framework, right? Is that the way you see it?
Absolutely, John. And what is incredibly important, so let's just pause for a moment and talk about Jolay, because she's a critically important component of Elevated Planet and your journey forward. And I think your choosing her as a strategic partner was probably one of the most incredibly wise things that you've ever done. Firstly, because she carries the master number 22 life path. If you look at her date of birth and you add the various numbers to it, which is the day that she's born on, the month she's born in, the year that she's born in, and lock them together, you come to the number 1993. Now, 1 plus 9 plus 9 plus 3 equals 22. So Jolie carries this very powerful master number 22 life path, which is, if you will, the master builder. So these are people who have incredible gifts to be able to help transform the world. But, and now I'm just going to, if you don't mind, John, now I'm just going to raise a couple of red flags between people who are so gifted and the world that we currently live in, which is a very, 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 and I believe intentionally dumbed down situation to be able to exert control on the highest level around people, and, if you will, to prevent us from using the incredible abilities that sit within us, to rather create fear than joy, to rather create doubt than confidence. Anyway, let's not go there. Otherwise, no doubt I'll soon be labeled as one of these crackpots, which I am very, very doing my best to avoid. But what this brings into frame is somebody like Jolie, with her ability to tap into the invisible metaphysical dimension. That is an incredible gift. However, the world we have right now is one whereby, if you were to place her and her gifts in front of an executive team of a blue chip corporate, every single member in that team might be exceptionally intrigued, if not astonished, if not blown away by what she has to say. However, they would not have the guts or the strength to be able to say, hold on a moment, we need to work with her, there's something more. Why? Because immediately, given the architecture of the world that we currently live in, especially the world of corporates and business, etc., they would be labeled as being different. I think is probably the nicest word that I could think of, many others, but we're in front of polite company here. And as a result of that, immediately their career will come under threat. Why did you do this? A CEO might sit in front of Jolie and be absolutely blown away, but has he got the strength and conviction to bring her in to work with his C-suite executives? No, because they would in turn think that he's barking mad. So this is the challenge that we have at the moment. And when Suzanne and I began this journey about 13 or 14 years ago, and through the talk radio show that we hosted for 3.5 years, which delved extensively into the human psyche, business coaching, life coaching, etc., entrepreneurial success, where we got to interview some of the real leaders in their field. What we discovered is that the only way that right now, and I'm still talking 2022, John, that you can get this message that you are so passionate about, that Jolie's so passionate about, that I'm so passionate about the fact that there's so much more out there. The only way that you can get this safely into people's world is through something like numbers, where you are able to provide hard numerical evidence and proof of events, of circumstances, of profiles, etc. Why? Because every CEO or COO or CFO or C-suite executive is used to opening up a pack, and within the pack there's loads of data, tables, graphs, etc. So it's their happy space, it's their safe space. So we've got to play into that space, and this is something that we at 365 Pin Code are trying to do, is build the bridge between the world as we know it, which is fear-based, and the world that Jolie and you wish to move people to, which is not fear-based, which is actually so much more, which, as you say, is elevated consciousness. But that bridge has got to be a practical bridge. And this is why, and I know we've spoken about it at length, but this is why our partnership with yourselves is so incredibly important, because that practical bridge, if you will, gives people the safe walkway for them to tiptoe into our world. And then if they get a little bit scared, they can reverse out and then they can tiptoe a little bit forward, but at least it's numbers driven. The stuff that Jolay does is off the charts, absolutely off the charts. I can't do it. I can't understand it. She's in a world of her own, and a realm of her own. But in many ways, and again, it comes back to the 22, the genius of the 22, the master builder, and many things that have happened in this world of ours have been massive transformation, changes, etc., the building of new things, ideas, concepts, structures have been done through people with this number 22 life path. So, you know, she's got a massive, massive role to play, but she must be so frustrated in many ways because, if you will, she's ahead of her time.
Yes, and it's bridging that gap, isn't it? It's actually putting down safe foundations. This is why with Elevated Planet, what we're trying to do is kind of, you know, a big part of this is there to appeal to the mainstream. It's turning the negative media on its head, and it's kind of understanding that that is something which people are comfortable with, because we all know that the media always kind of just reinforces the negativity and the fear-based way of approaching life. So it's unnecessary, and we want to turn that around. Now, people do get that, you know, regardless of whether you have any degree of spirituality about it. I think people can see that for themselves. That's not rocket science. But then it's balancing it out, having fun in life, because I do think this is like part of elevating who we are, and it is elevating our emotions to a better place, which is the place that we all want to be. We all want to be living in, you know, with love, laughter, and getting the right lifestyle behind us. You know, that's our foundation. But we create the opportunity for the spiritually curious to be able to explore, as you say, to tiptoe across that bridge and then go back again if they're not comfortable with it, and go back to their version of reality, but an opportunity to explore. So I think you put that across incredibly well. Now, a question for you, Chris. 22, obviously that is a number that is associated with Jolay. Who else out there that we might know in the world today might also be a 22?
Well, John, great question. And the master number 22, if I can just digress for a second, the master number 22 is known as the number of the master builder. And people that have this number, especially in their life path, have been, if you will, blessed with the ability to do and achieve phenomenal things this lifetime. However, this has to be done in cooperation, collaboration with others. And it has to be done in a way which is being driven for the benefit of many, not just themselves.
Well, I hope you enjoyed part 2. And I'm assuming that you're going to be quite intrigued as to who is going to fit the frame for the 22 life path. And it's an interesting one. So certainly please do tune in next week to find out more, or click on the link that gives you the full 1 hour and 1 minute interview between Chris and myself. This is John Drew at Elevated Planet, saying farewell. Bye now.